She walked into the gleaming cathedral of chrome and glass that was Prestige Motors, the city's most exclusive luxury car dealership, wearing faded blue jeans, simple white sneakers, and a plain grey t-shirt that looked soft from many washes. Her brown hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and she carried a simple canvas tote bag, nothing about her screaming Bentley buyer or Rolls-Royce owner. The air inside was cool and smelled faintly of expensive leather and polish, the silence broken only by the hushed tones of impeccably dressed salesmen and the soft click of high heels on the marble floor. Instantly, heads turned, not in welcome, but in swift, dismissive judgment. A salesman near the entrance, Marcus, with slicked-back hair and a suit so sharp it could cut glass, appraised her with a barely concealed sneer, his eyes flicking from her sneakers to her t-shirt before dismissing her entirely, turning back to polish an already gleaming fender on a nearby Aston Martin. Another salesman, Julian, leaner and radiating an air of bored arrogance, exchanged a look with Marcus, a small smirk playing on his lips. From a plush leather seating area, a wealthy-looking couple, Victoria and Charles Davenport, dripping in designer labels and ostentatious jewelry, paused their conversation with the dealership manager, Mr. Harrison, to openly stare at Anna, Victoria whispering something behind her manicured hand that made Charles chuckle condescendingly. Anna, seemingly oblivious or perhaps just accustomed to such receptions, paused just inside the door, her gaze sweeping across the showroom floor, taking in the silent, powerful machines, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, the majestic Rolls-Royces lined up like works of art. They didn't know the woman in the grey t-shirt, Anna Sterling, wasn't just browsing. She was the anonymous, highly successful architect behind some of the city's most iconic new buildings, a woman whose net worth quietly dwarfed everyone in the room, including the Davenports. They didn't know she was here to make a significant purchase today, a celebratory gift to herself after closing a landmark deal. They saw only the surface, the lack of outward signals of wealth, and judged accordingly. They laughed internally, some externally, ready to dismiss her, perhaps even eject her, unaware that her driver was, at that very moment, circling the block in a bespoke, solid gold Rolls-Royce Phantom, waiting for her signal. The humiliation was about to begin, but the arrival that would silence them all was closer than they could ever comprehend. Anna approached Marcus, who was still fussing over the Aston Martin, deliberately avoiding eye contact. "Excuse me," Anna said, her voice quiet but clear. Marcus straightened up slowly, reluctantly, his expression conveying extreme reluctance, as if acknowledging her was a chore far beneath him. "Yes?" he clipped, his tone bordering on insolent. "I'm interested in learning more about the new Rolls-Royce Spectre," Anna stated calmly. "I saw it featured recently and wanted to inquire about availability and customization options." Marcus's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, not with interest but with disbelief quickly masked by derision. He let out a short, sharp laugh, quickly stifled. "The Spectre?" he repeated, as if she'd asked about a spaceship. "Madam, that is a vehicle of significant investment, starting well over $500,000, before any bespoke options, of course." He scanned her outfit again, more obviously this time. "Perhaps you'd be interested in our pre-owned selection. We have some lovely certified models that might be more accessible." It was a blatant dismissal, wrapped in faux politeness. "I'm specifically interested in the Spectre," Anna reiterated patiently. "Could you perhaps show me the configuration options or provide a brochure?" Julian sauntered over, drawn by the exchange, leaning casually against a nearby Bentley. "Marcus," he drawled, addressing his colleague while pointedly ignoring Anna. "Didn't Mr. Harrison say we needed to focus on qualified buyers today? Time is money, after all." He smirked at Anna. "Some people just like to window shop, get their photos for social media, you know." From the seating area, Victoria Davenport's voice carried across the showroom floor, sharp and disdainful. "Honestly, Charles, the standards here seem to be slipping, letting just anyone wander in off the street. It quite ruins the exclusive atmosphere, doesn't it?" Charles nodded sagely, adjusting his silk tie. "Indeed, my dear. One expects a certain clientele, protects the brand image." Mr. Harrison, the manager, a portly man whose smile didn't reach his eyes, offered the Davenports an apologetic grimace before striding towards Anna, Marcus, and Julian. "Is there a problem here, gentlemen?" he asked, his gaze landing on Anna with clear disapproval. Marcus spoke quickly. "No problem, Mr. Harrison. This lady was just expressing some curiosity about the Spectre. I was explaining our typical client profile for such a vehicle." Harrison nodded, understanding immediately. He turned to Anna, his tone patronizing. "Madam, Prestige Motors caters to a very specific clientele. While we appreciate your interest, the vehicles here represent a significant financial commitment. Perhaps another dealership might better suit your needs." He gestured vaguely towards the door. "We wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable or waste your valuable time." The unified front of dismissal was complete. Salesman, manager, and fellow customers all aligned in their judgment, pushing her towards the exit based solely on the simplicity of her attire. Anna felt a familiar wave of weary frustration wash over her, but her expression remained placid. She reached into her tote bag, not for a wallet but for her phone. The request to leave, though couched in vaguely polite terms by Mr. Harrison, hung in the air, thick with condescension. Marcus and Julian stood flanking Anna slightly, their postures subtly reinforcing the manager's suggestion, making it clear her presence was no longer welcome. Victoria and Charles watched from their leather perch with undisguised amusement, anticipating her departure. "I assure you, Mr. Harrison," Anna said, her voice remaining steady, though a slight edge had crept into it, "my time is not being wasted, and my finances are quite capable of handling a significant commitment. I have a scheduled appointment, in fact, Anna Sterling, for 11 o'clock. She held up her phone slightly, displaying a calendar notification clearly showing the appointment confirmation from Prestige Motors. Mr. Harrison blinked, momentarily taken aback. He glanced at Marcus, who shrugged with a look of bewildered denial. Julian scoffed audibly. "Anyone can fake an appointment, Harrison. Probably screen-grabbed it from somewhere. Look at her." Harrison recovered quickly, his skepticism returning full force. "Appointments are typically made by clients we have an existing relationship with, or through verified referrals, Ms. Sterling, was it?" He made a show of consulting a sleek tablet he carried. "I don't see any Anna Sterling with an 11 o'clock booking in our primary system. Perhaps it was made through a third-party concierge you used." The implication was clear. Someone like her wouldn't have a direct relationship with the dealership. "It was made directly," Anna stated firmly. "Perhaps check under a corporate account? Sterling Architecture Group?" Marcus snorted. "Sterling Architecture? Never heard of them. Probably some small-time outfit." Victoria chimed in again, louder this time. "Oh, for heaven's sake, Harrison, just get rid of her. She's clearly a fantasist or trying to cause trouble. This is becoming tedious. Charles and I have actual business to discuss regarding the ghost." Mr. Harrison's face hardened, his brief moment of uncertainty replaced by irritation at being questioned and pressured by the Davenports. "Madam," he said, his voice losing all pretense of politeness, becoming sharp and commanding, "I must insist now. You are disrupting our business and disturbing our valued clients. Please leave the premises immediately. If you refuse, I will have no choice but to call security." Marcus took a half-step closer, his body language clearly indicating readiness to physically escort her out. Julian crossed his arms, a smug look of victory on his face. The atmosphere in the showroom turned icy. Anna met Mr. Harrison's glare, then glanced at the smug faces of the salesmen and the scornful expressions of the Davenports. She saw no point in further argument, no value in revealing her credentials here and now. They had made their judgment based on the superficial, and nothing she said would likely change minds steeped in such prejudice. Instead of protesting further, she simply gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "Very well, Mr. Harrison," she said quietly. "If that is your decision." She lowered her gaze to her phone, held discreetly in her hand and tapped out a short, simple text message. "James now, front entrance." She then slipped the phone back into her tote bag, her movements unhurried, betraying none of the swift, decisive action she had just taken. She turned towards the massive glass doors of the showroom, preparing to walk out into the bright morning sunlight, leaving them to their exclusive, judgment-filled world. As Anna took her first step towards the imposing glass entrance, A low, powerful rumble began to permeate the hushed atmosphere of the dealership. It wasn't loud, but it was deep, resonant, a sound utterly distinct from the usual city traffic noise outside. Heads turned, conversations faltered. Marcus frowned, glancing towards the street. Julian peered through the glass, curiosity piqued. Mr. Harrison looked annoyed, assuming it was perhaps a construction vehicle or a modified sports car, disrupting his carefully curated environment. Then it glided into view. It wasn't just any car, it was a Rolls-Royce Phantom, the pinnacle of automotive luxury, instantly recognizable by its iconic grille and Spirit of Ecstasy mascot. But this Phantom was unlike any other. It wasn't black or silver or deep blue. It was finished in a breathtaking, flawless, bespoke shade of gleaming liquid gold. It seemed to absorb and radiate the sunlight, a stunning, almost surreal sight against the backdrop of the ordinary street. It pulled to a silent stop directly in front of the main doors, angled slightly, commanding attention, its sheer presence eclipsing every other vehicle in the showroom. The engine noise ceased, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Inside Prestige Motors, jaws dropped. Marcus stared, his mouth agape. Julian's smug expression dissolved into disbelief. Victoria and Charles Davenport rose slowly from their seats, their eyes wide with awe and perhaps a touch of envy. Even Mr. Harrison seemed momentarily speechless, his face slack with shock. A uniformed chauffeur emerged from the driver's side. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a classic dark grey uniform with subtle silver piping, his movements precise and economical. He wore driving gloves, and his posture radiated quiet professionalism and authority. He closed the car door with a soft, satisfying thud and walked calmly towards the dealership entrance. This was James, Anna's personal driver and head of her small security detail, a man utterly unflappable and intensely loyal. The automatic glass doors slid open, and James stepped inside. He paid no attention to the gawking salesman or the stunned manager. His eyes scanned the showroom briefly before landing on Anna, who had paused near the door. He approached her directly, stopping a respectful few paces away, and gave a slight formal bow. "Madam Sterling," he said, his voice calm and clear, easily audible in the silent room. "The vehicle is ready at your convenience. Shall I bring your portfolio from the passenger compartment?" The use of her correct name, the deferential yet assured tone, the mention of the gold Rolls-Royce waiting just outside, the pieces clicked into place with devastating speed for everyone present. Anna Sterling, the woman they had mocked, dismissed, and tried to throw out. The woman whose appointment wasn't in the system. The woman whose driver waited in a solid gold Phantom. Marcus visibly flinched, taking an involuntary step back. Julian's face went from pale to crimson in seconds. Victoria Davenport let out a small gasp, her hand flying to her chest, the diamonds suddenly seeming less impressive. Charles looked utterly flabbergasted. Mr. Harrison's face was a mask of dawning horror, the implications of his actions crashing down on him like a physical weight. Anna simply offered James a small, calm smile. "Thank you, James," she replied softly. "That won't be necessary just yet. I was just leaving." She turned, her gaze sweeping coolly over the stunned faces of Marcus, Julian, and Mr. Harrison, before finally resting for a moment on the Davenports. There was no triumph in her eyes, no anger, just a quiet, unwavering certainty that stripped bare their earlier arrogance and left it exposed and pathetic. The silence in the showroom stretched, thick with unspoken apologies and frantic mental calculations. Mr. Harrison was the first to break, stumbling forward, his face slick with sudden perspiration, his earlier commanding tone replaced by a desperate, trembling deference. "Ms. Sterling, please forgive me. There's been a terrible misunderstanding, a dreadful error in our system, clearly." He wrung his hands, his eyes darting nervously towards the gold Phantom outside, then back to Anna's calm face. "Of course, you have an appointment. Let me personally show you the Spectre configurator right away. We have the finest materials, exclusive options." Marcus and Julian scrambled to echo him, their faces pale, their voices overlapping in their haste to backtrack. "Yes, Ms. Sterling, our sincerest apologies," Marcus stammered, almost bowing. "We were completely mistaken. Allow us to fetch you some refreshments. Champagne, espresso." Julian nodded vigorously, his earlier arrogance completely vanished. "Anything you need, Ms. Sterling, the Spectre is a magnificent choice. We can arrange a private viewing immediately." Victoria and Charles Davenport stood awkwardly by their seats, suddenly looking unsure of themselves, their earlier scorn now replaced by embarrassed silence. They clearly recognized the level of wealth and power represented by the gold Rolls-Royce and its unassuming owner, a level perhaps even beyond their own, and realized they had aligned themselves with the losing side. Anna listened to the frantic apologies, her expression unchanging. She let their panicked words hang in the air for a moment before speaking, her voice still quiet, but now carrying an undeniable weight of finality. "Mr. Harrison," she said, addressing the sweating manager directly, "there was no misunderstanding. Your team judged me based on my appearance, assumed my worth, and treated me accordingly. That reflects a fundamental issue within your dealership's culture." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Prestige Motors clearly prides itself on exclusivity. Unfortunately, today, that exclusivity manifested as prejudice." She then glanced briefly at Marcus and Julian. "A word of advice. The most significant clients are often the ones who don't need to advertise their wealth." She turned back towards the door, where James stood patiently holding it open for her. "Thank you for your time," she said, the simple phrase imbued with a chilling finality. She stepped out of the cool artificial atmosphere of the showroom and into the warm sunlight. James closed the dealership door gently behind her, then opened the rear door of the gold Phantom. Anna slid onto the plush cream leather seats without a backward glance. As the golden car pulled away smoothly and silently from the curb, disappearing into traffic, the figures inside Prestige Motors remained frozen. Mr. Harrison looked utterly defeated. The multi-million-dollar Spectre sale, and potentially countless future deals from Anna or her influential network, evaporating before his eyes. Marcus and Julian stared after the departing car, the devastating consequences of their snap judgments crashing down upon them. The Davenports quietly collected their belongings, avoiding the manager's panicked gaze, eager to distance themselves from the fiasco. The loss for the dealership wasn't just financial. It was a catastrophic blow to their carefully cultivated image of sophisticated discernment. They hadn't recognized true prestige when it walked through their door in simple jeans and a t-shirt. Anna Sterling, meanwhile, settled back in her seat, already focused on her next meeting, the incident at the dealership receding. She hadn't needed to buy the car there to prove a point. Her worth wasn't validated by their acceptance or invalidated by their rejection. It simply existed, independent of their judgment, much like the quiet power of the golden vehicle carrying her away. Sometimes, the most powerful statement isn't a loud declaration, but a quiet departure in undeniable style. If this story resonated with you, and you believe people should be valued for who they are, not what they wear, show your support. Hit the like button, share this story with your friends, leave a comment about your own experiences or thoughts, and make sure to subscribe for more stories where substance triumphs over superficiality. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more.